We'll start our webinar. Please note that this webinar will be recorded and made available for distribution. And we are doing this to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to benefit from uh, this discussion, and even if they cannot join us live. So the recording will be accessible uh, shortly after the webinar concludes, allowing you to revisit the content at your convenience. And I will encourage you to share it with your colleagues who may find it beneficial. So welcome once again. My name is Muhammad Ahsan. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I am joining you from city of Kingston, Ontario, Canada. And let me begin by acknowledging that I am on the traditional territory of Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Huron-Wendat peoples. So the significance of a land acknowledgement goes beyond mere formalities. It is a profound expression of respect and a way of recognizing the enduring presence and resilience of Indigenous people. It is reminder of our shared responsibilities to honor these ties to the land and to understand our place within history and to engage with the consequences of that history. By acknowledging the land, we can foster a deeper connection to it, understanding that we all are part of a larger community that includes the past, present, and future inhabitants. It also encourages us to think about the land we stand on, the people who have lived on it for centuries, and our interaction with the environment. For each of us, our land acknowledgement can be a step towards reconciliation. It offers a moment to reflect on the histories that brought us here and how we can move forward with mutual respect and cooperation. It can also serve as a commitment to ongoing learning about the cultures, experiences, histories, and rights of Indigenous peoples. Joining me today from Natural Resources Canada are Annette Olas, Manager International Engagement, Zinzi McKinday, Policy Analyst, and Laura Conrad, Policy Analyst, and Vicky Veron, Senior Project Coordinator from Electricity Human Resource Canada. I want to take this opportunity to welcome back to those of you returning for the second webinar and a warm welcome to our new attendees. I'm thrilled to have you join us for the second webinar, where we continue our learning journey towards a more equitable and inclusive future. Whether you are here to build on the insights from our last session or you are diving in fresh, you're exactly where you need to be. So get ready to be inspired and to learn and become a part of a powerful change we are trying to create together. So I would ask you to be as interactive, as responsive, as participative as you can be to make this an unforgettable learning experience. Are you all with me? Yay. So, a bit about the campaign, Equal by 30, we most of us know is a public commitment by public and private sector organizations to work towards to advance inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility in the clean energy sector by 2030. The Natural Resources Canada team that I just introduced a while ago are the amazing folks who are managing this for the rest of the world and for us who are present here. So, a huge round of virtual applause to this amazing group of people. So, let's start with an activity. And I will ask my coworker Vicky to put that in chat as well. So I would request you to join the Mentimeter session, and you have two easy options to do that. If you have a smartphone or tablet, you can simply open your camera uh, app and point it at the QR code, which is now displayed on your screen, most devices will automatically recognize this code and prompt you to open a link. You can tap on the notification to be directed to our Mentimeter session. If your device does not automatically scan this QR code, you might need to download a QR code scanner app from your app store. Um, and if you're using computer, or if you prefer not to use the QR code, look for the link that Vicky has shared in our chat. You can click on that link and it will open a web page directly to the Mentimeter session. Once you have joined, you will be able to participate in this interactive portion of our session in real time. And if you have any issues joining, please let us know in the chat and we'll assist you. Once again, I want to thank you for participating and really appreciate your responses. All right, let's share our first question. So, what was your first impression of Equal by 30 self-assessment tools? And we have some keeners here: accessible, effective, sustainable. Great. Let's see. Let's wait for a few more responses. Systematic approach. Great. Plain language, clear, helpful, action oriented. I am seeing a theme emerging: accessible and effective. That's great. User friendly. Good to know that. Helpful, clear. Let's wait for a few more responses and then we can move to the next question. Going once, going twice, and gone. Thank you very much for sharing your responses. And as I have shared earlier, that we have a clear theme emerging: accessible, helpful, aspirational. Thank you very much for sharing. This will help us understand and improve the tool for everyone in future. So let's move to the next slide. How easy is the tool for you and or your organization to use? Very easy, somewhat easy, neutral, somewhat difficult, very difficult. And don't feel shy about saying very difficult if that's how you feel about it. We have a clear winner. Somewhat easy. Well, when I was working on this question, I was hoping everyone is going to click on very easy, but I will take somewhat easy any day. Let's wait for another few responses. Going once, going twice, and it's somewhat easy. Well, that's really good information for us, and of course for everyone who will be watching and participating in this webinar in future. Next question: how relevant and comprehensive is the tool for assessing your organization's commitment towards inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility? So we have an average of 7.7 out of 10, which is still very close to very comprehensive and relevant. So thank you very much for sharing your responses on this one. Let's move to the next question. What key areas, if any, do you feel need more emphasis? And I will let you think on this question before you respond to this one. And if you feel there is no key area that needs more emphasis, you can just type all as well, or thumbs up, or good job, or a smiley. Yay, great job. I am guessing we will only be seeing one response in this area, which is good. Well rounded. Thank you very much. Youth. Mm-hmm. Great. That's a good one. All right, let's move to the next question in our list. The question is in front of you. Did the tool provide you with actionable insights or recommendations? Simple yes and no answer. Yes, 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 all across the board. That's great. We'll wait for a few more responses. And I must add that that this tool definitely provide lots of actionable insight, and we will be talking about that in the later part of this webinar. So I'm really glad to see that as the end user, you are on the same page as the rest of us. So that's really reassuring. Thank you very much for that. Let's move to the next question. Please share an example of an insight that was particularly valuable to you or your organization, or and to you and your organization. Now that's a difficult one, a tricky one. So I'm gonna take a moment to see everyone is able to answer this one. Yep. The Canadian version of the self assessment tool has a lot of indigenous specific uh, elements embedded into it throughout. And like I said in our previous webinar, that while it is designed for Canada, anyone who wants to focus on some indigenous specific elements of this tool, you can always refer to that even if you are not operating in Canada. Workplace safety, another very important area. Workplace safety just got bigger. That's great. I'm gonna count till three. You know what? I'll do it five this time. So, uh, oh, unconscious bias, underrepresentation for sure. Very important. It's good for us to know that. All right, let's start the countdown. Five, four, three, two, and one. Thank you very much for responding to this one, and let's move to the next one. In one word, share feedback or suggestions for improvement you have for the self assessment tool. I should add if you feel there is any. Yep. More suggestion on how to lead without authority, which is basically something that I hear very often for the equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility professionals. You may not have authority over every element or every part of the organization. So that is a reoccurring theme that I'm seeing more often now. Okay, I'm gonna do the backward counting on this one too, and this time also from five, four, three, two, one, and we will move on to the next question, which is what impact do you anticipate the tool could have on organizations? It could be your organization, on generally any organizations that you feel. Better tracking, effective change, progress for sure, accountability, yes. Promote diversity, inspire action, cultural change, monitoring, equitable learning. Yep. Self reflection. Absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing responses to this one. Let's move on. What incentives could encourage more extensive use of this tool? If I was answering, I would say I should get a chocolate box at the end of finishing the assessment. So if anyone wants to write that, make sure you write that. You get one and I get two. An award? Yeah. If only we can give award to every awesome organization for filling this tool. Uh, we would love to give it to everyone. But you know what? How I feel when you finish this self assessment for your organization, that itself in it is an award that you have moved towards the right direction as the organization. Certification, recognition, feedback data regarding the tool success. Mm, those are all great responses. Thank you very much. Electronic badge or certificate stating they are an organization of change. Mm. All right, let's wait for a couple of seconds, which is over by the time I finish saying that. So let's move on to the next part. And we have reached the end of the Mentimeter part of our segment. And thank you very much, everyone, for participating. So let's move on. And I'm going to quickly give you a very fast recap of what we discussed in the webinar one. Uh, so like I mentioned earlier, that we have two versions of our self-assessment tool, one for Canada, which includes a significant focus on Indigenous perspectives, and international one for a global view. Um, and there are some key features that I'm not going to read, but are here for all of us to quickly look at. We discussed that pretty much in depth in our first webinar. And the instructions for self-assessment. I just want to take a moment to recap that, how we can do the self-assessment. So you can pick a knowledgeable team member to lead the diversity and inclusion assessment, coordinating with the others for necessary data and data collection on key issues like equal pay and opportunities, cultural inclusivity, management, fairness, career development, and safety. So you're gathering all that information and then moving on to the next step of completing the assessment, checking off areas of progress and noting those areas that need more work. And you can skip any non-applicable questions throughout the questionnaire. Um, and then reviewing the results, celebrating your successes, and plan improvements based on your findings. And finally, the last step, share the results internally to foster transparency and track progress, and reach out to the Equal by 30 team for support if needed. So this tool has, in our last webinar, we collectively delved into this essential of our self-assessment tool. So today, I'm just going to give you this screenshot of the key areas that are covered, starting with equal pay, uh, equal leadership, equal opportunities, inclusive culture, fair management, career development, workplace safety and harassment, and it's supplemented with a glossary of terms that are used throughout this tool. So let's keep this conversation going. Each step, each question, I believe, is a chance for us to grow and improve. So I would suggest let's uh, tackle this with the same drive for improvement uh, that brought us here today. Um, are you ready to continue the journey? Let's get to it. And next on our agenda is a case study of navigating equal pay initiatives with Equal by 30 self assessment. And we have two mock organizations, and this case study explores the journey of these two uh, distinct imaginary organizations, Alpha Tech and Beta Corp, uh, as they utilize the Equal by 30 self assessment tool for inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility action, focusing mainly on equal pay, and both organizations hypothetically have begun filling out the first section of equal pay assessment, revealing stark differences in their current statuses and approaches towards achieving pay equity. So the first part, like we discussed last time, also uh, starts with the leading question: uh, does the organization have a commitment and/or process in place to ensure all employees receive equal compensation for substantially the same work? And then there are options to say no or yes. And let's see what are the responses of Alpha Tech and Beta Corp. So Alpha Tech marked yes, Alpha Tech has a comprehensive commitment and a well implemented process for equal pay that spans all organizational levels, including a gender equality specific commitment. Uh, I must add to support the statement that Alpha Tech has comprehensively shared. Uh, and a well implemented process for equal pay, the organization can provide several types of evidence, which can include an equal pay policy document, which could be copies of organizations' formal written policies that outlines the commitment to equal pay, uh, including the methodologies for ensuring pay equity. Um, Another evidence could be pay equity audit report, uh, a result from regular pay equity audit that analyzes compensation across all roles and all intersectionalities to identify and correct any disparities. Um, Another element that Alpha Tech can offer or could have offered is the compensation analysis tool, which is details about the tools or systems used to assess and ensure equal pay for equal work within the organization. Uh, One more element that Alpha Tech may have presented is the salary band data, the evidence of transparent salary bands or range for each position, showing that the pay is based on role and not on individuals' identities or uh, um, other intersectionalities. Um, Also, some of you talked about earlier about the certifications. So there are gender equality certifications, any certification or recognition, regional or international, uh, that your organization may have received for their commitment to gender equality and equal pay, uh, could be also used as an evidence for this part of assessment response. Let's take a look at the Beta Corp's response. And they responded that no, initially Beta Corp lacks a formal process to ensure equal compensation for substantially similar work, but is keen on learning and planning to implement a strategy within 12 to 18 months. Some offices have started piloting the planned actions. And for this response, Beta Corp could have added some communication material uh, uh, on the piloting piece, as well as if there are any organizational statistical data that is available that talks about the disparities within the organizations, and also if there is an action plan or the process in place to work on that action plan, could be another document Beta Corp can provide. Let's move to this next part of this self-assessment tools first section, which is the commitment piece, and it talks about whether you have a standalone policy, uh, and also if you have made a public written statement. Let's check what are the assessment responses. So Alpha Tech talks about that the organization boasts a standalone policy on equal pay for work of equal value, widely circulated among staff, alongside a publicly available statement of commitment. And to support the statement regarding uh, the organization's commitment to equal pay, um, Alpha Tech has provided an official policy documentation, which is presenting the document that outlines the organization's equal pay policy in detail. Also, it's good to add some circulation evidence, like record showing how the policy was communicated to staff, like internal communication logs or summaries, or a screenshot of some sort. Another element could be public statement availability, providing access to or details of where the public commitment to equal pay can be found. It could be on the website, it could be part of the job posting, um, depending on what Alpha Tech already has. And then definitely there could be a possibility of some orientation and training material for new staff members, uh, and also some internal communication samples sharing types of communication used to remind or inform staff about the equal pay policy. Um, and definitely another element that I would highly recommend is a feedback and response system that describes the mechanism in place for employees to discuss or report concerns related to pay equity. Um, and if there are any recognitions from external bodies, noting those is also a good idea. And these type of evidence collectively can demonstrate um, your organization, and in this case, Alpha Tech's active commitment to ensure equal pay for employees, all employees, I must say, uh, and I must add active and transparent commitment for sure. And Beta Corp responses, they lack a formal policy or public statement, uh, as they are in the early stages of addressing pay equity. And then the detailed section of measurement and implementation, lots of uh, actionable items there that can be used by the organizations. And let's check what are the responses. So the assessment response for Alpha Tech is that they excel with an action plan for equal pay, regular pay equity exercises, and an intersectional approach to pay equity. Salary ranges are published internally, and bias-free decision making is supported. And to affirm Alpha Tech's proficiency in the area of measuring and implementing equal pay, the organization may have presented a distinct set of evidence types, like if there's a strategic action plan that illustrates the initiative designed to enforce equal pay, detailing steps and goals, um, and also a summary of equity assessment, which summarizes outcomes and insights from periodic equity assessments, as well as the methodologies for intersectional analysis, if there was any. And Beta Corp has yet to develop an action plan, so there is none at the moment. Is that what they responded with? And then the transparency and accountability piece of whether the organization is reporting, uh, how are they reporting, are they sharing, whether they are sharing it internally at all levels of organizations. And let's see what are the assessment responses of both organizations. So Alpha Tech reports publicly on its progress, and Beta Cup does not yet report on its progress. And to illustrate their commitment to this part, Alpha Tech could have offered the public reporting frameworks if there is one developed. It is a detailed framework or guidelines that governs how progress and strategies are reported to the public, ensuring clarity on the organization's approach to sharing information. And another tool that can be shared here is compensation structure accountability reports, which provides specific examples of how finding from pay equity audits or reviews are linked to the adjustment in compensation structures, showing a direct line for insight to action. And then, of course, if there is any independent audits or stakeholder engagement records or any public forum, evidence of that can also be attached to the assessment response. And Also, if there is an opportunity for having an interactive dashboard that mention the use of um, different tools and providing the real-time data on pay equity efforts. Uh, so that is something Alpha Tech or an organization that wants to focus on it can provide. And let's take a look at the next slide. And I want to ask this question from all of us. What do you think may have happened with both organizations? As we can clearly see that there's a distinct difference between uh, both responses. And no, I'm not asking you to share your answer. Like, I'm sure you must have thought about it by now. And let's see what Alpha Tech has done. So, Alpha Tech emerges as a model of proactive equity, and it shares its success in achieving and maintaining equal pay through comprehensive stakeholder communications, detailing its strategies, actions, and outcomes in their annual reports and on its website. And the transparency foster trust among employees, stakeholders, and an industry at large, setting a benchmark for excellence, which can be used as a very good statement on the organizational website. I'm trying to link it with some of the responses we gave in terms of the incentives. So, by filling this self assessment, Alpha Tech has actually created an incentive for themselves. Uh, and this proactive approach not only improves their employee satisfaction and retention, but also enhances their brand reputation, attracting top talent and clients who value diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. But what happens to Beta Corp is also not a bad example, because Beta Corp is embarking on the path to equality and acknowledging its initial shortcomings. Uh, they are focusing on a dedicated journey to achieve pay equity. So their organization, their leadership commits to developing and implementing an equal pay policy, and starting with a comprehensive audit to understand current disparities. So they come up with an action plan to implement everything that has been shared in the document that we talked about in the earlier webinar. So I'm going to take a moment here to take a pause and let you all ask any questions before we move on to the next part of our conversation, which I'm really excited about. Are there any questions in chat, Vicky? Unfortunately, I'm not able to see it.
No, we don't have some questions. We just have some good comments. So we have that Beta Corp is still better than most by being honest and developing a plan. So that's great. Then we have that employee satisfaction and retention have seemed to increase at Alpha Tech. So thank you for those comments.
Thank you very much. And let's move to the next part of our um, webinar. And we have a very special guest um, present here, Joanna Osawe, President and CEO of Women in Renewable Energy, WIRE. Uh, Joanna is joining us to talk about her motivation and um, her experience with the self assessment tool, as well as what was her experience throughout with Equal by 30 campaign. So, without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we all can see uh, myself as well as Joanna on the screen.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. To the EHRC team, to NRCan, Equal by 30, and everything that you folks do. It's very important. I'm actually thrilled to be here with you this afternoon and share my experiences with the Equal by 30 self-assessment tool, and also talk about why WIRE is a signatory to Equal by 30. Not only from a national level, but on a international level. And I think it's very important to continue that journey and bringing stakeholders and proponents that see this vision the same way that we all do. WIRE partners with many organizations such as EHRC. I definitely believe that the more we partner, the better the journey will be for all of us, and the better we're going to be able to align and work together to make a better future. The Equal by 30, it's equal pay, equal leadership, and equal opportunities for women by 2030. We're in 2024. 2030 is around the corner. Climate change, also, we have a lot of goals to work towards. I think one of the things that I definitely really love about this assessment is the transparency and the accountability. I think that the fact that it goes into details, the measurements and implementation, this is not about lip service. This is about really accountability and making sure that we are being assessed the correct way, that we're actually making sure that we're evaluating and we're not just signing a piece of paper just to sign for it. We're actually representing and talking about this. You know, in every single presentation at Wire, we always make sure to include not only the equal pay by 30 or the equal by 30, but also obviously the Gender Leadership Accord by EHRC. Our commitment and our level of commitment towards equal by 30 is extremely significant and serious. You know, it's been interesting, even with the Wire international folks throughout the world, there's been a lot of interest in regards to what equal by 30 means. And, you know, the fact that they want to get involved, their organizations want to get involved as well. So that's a huge testament as well to what it is that equal by 30 represents. You know, this entire team has been working relentlessly in regards to moving that dial. And unfortunately, we still have a ways and ways to go. Um, I was sharing this information with Muhammad and Annette and Zinzi and Laura this past Monday, and I was saying that, you know, most recently I had a gentleman tell me that, you know, women are so powerful that we don't need to have any other organizations. And, you know, we kind of, we chuckled about the situation. And the truth is that if that was the case, well, then we better, I'm like, well, then, as Annette put it, we've just solved all the world's problems. So, and I think that it's a very long journey, and it's really required and needed. And you know, even though WIRE is international, just like Equal by 30 is international with signatories, we need to make sure that we're also being able to what's right for Canada may not be right for another country or so forth. And I think that this assessment really plays into a very favorable international assessment, which I really loved and love. You know, I think that over throughout the entire document, what I did like is that you can put additional comments. You can actually make further notes. I think that it talks about, you know, the different programs and how effective it is. I think that the entire system also, you know, talks about the harassment side of things. I think it's really important to talk about the elephant in the room, and that's precisely what this assessment does. I could not be prouder to be part of the Equal by 30 campaign, be part of EHRC's partnership. I think everything you folks are doing is extremely important. I encourage all of you to commit and sign and become a signatory. And you know, let's not make this lip service. Let's make this accountable for each and every one of us. So thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Joanna, for sharing uh, really valuable insight. Um, I do have a few questions for you that I want you to, which some of that you have already addressed in your initial remark. Uh, if you can share with us what motivated you to join Equal by 30 initiative.
Well, the reason that I really wanted to get Wire involved is because, again, it's so important that all of us, again, the equal pay, equal opportunity, equal leadership is extremely important. We need to be able to be at the C-suite level, at the board of directors level. Women need to be at that table and to represent significant decisions. So Equal by 30 was really a motivation from a global perspective as well that this was needed. It's also demonstrates the fact that we are collectively working together to make sure that we are making a difference and committing to, you know, to a journey by 2030. Again, and I said this previously, it's 2024, 2030 is around the corner. We need to hurry up. And we
Yep,
need to continue spreading that message. Sorry, Mohammed.
absolutely. Like when I think about it, that 2030 is actually right around the corner, and the way time is passing, uh, we have no time to waste. We need to uh, start working, start highlighting our areas like our mock organization Beta Corp. Uh, my next question for you, Joanna, is if you can describe your initial impression of using this self-assessment tool. What stood out for you?
So I think I touched a little bit about that earlier in my discussion. I really think that I really like the transparency, right? And how you're able to measure yourself, and not only yourself, but your organization, your employees. I think that it really gives you tools for different opportunities. It gives you tools on the leadership part. It gives you tools on how, you should sort of, it's an improvement tool as well, right? It's not only an assessment, but it's also an improvement tool that demonstrates these different measurements and implementations throughout. I think that, the fact that it asks difficult questions, those are important questions to reflect on, whether, how do you track your metrics internally? Do you have how many board members are females, for instance? What are the best practices, the areas of improvement, hiring and promotional processes? I mean, this tool, this assessment goes really into in depth detail, and also it's a way, and I can't stress enough, it makes me reflect on what can Wire do better? Because we all have room to grow and we all have room to improve. So I'm looking very forward to once we're able to, share the assessment tool with everyone. I'd love to get Wire's community or Wire's family's feedback as well.
Well, I must highlight a part of your response. What can Wire do better? That it's so important for organizations to, like focus on what can we do better? How can we move in the right direction? Uh, so, building on to what you just shared, um, considering your overall experience with Equal by 30 initiative, how has participating in Equal by 30 initiative, if you can share, has impacted Wire?
Oh my gosh, it's Eco by 30. It's on every single marketing form that we have, whether it's on our website, whether it's through social media, whether it's in our presentation, our marketing materials. We're constantly making sure that we're addressing that the campaign itself. Um, the fact that my experience has been tremendous. I mean, even the fact that I've been working with Annette and the team for many, many years now, even the fact that at the Clean Energy Ministerial, there's a dedicated commitment towards highlighting awards, for instance, emerging leaders, organizations, Woman of the Year award, that really entails and highlights again and focuses on women and all that are deserving. And there are so many male champions out there, so that's very important to stress. It's not about one woman or one man and all. It's let's work together. So this has been impactful in so many different ways, and I can only tell you that, through working with Annette and the team and Michelle Brannigan, Muhammad as well, and Zinzi and so forth, has been enlightening. I think that difficult questions are asked. There's sometimes, these difficult questions. It's, we have to address the elephant in the room. So I think that that's exactly what we're collectively doing.
And thank you very much for talking about male champions because, as a male identifying individual myself, I cannot emphasize more on the allyship piece, the male allyship in context of gender equality. It's so important. It's I can we can do another webinar just on that topic. Uh, so definitely so important to have the awareness of our privilege and speaking out and also sharing the opportunities. It's so important. Thank you very much, Joanna. Like we can go on and on about uh, this amazing campaign and the tool, and of course your experience. Um but we have very limited time. Uh, Thank you very much for joining us and like taking some time out from your very busy schedule. Really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Congratulations to all, and thank you for being all champions.
Thank you. So that's the end of our webinar, and I would like to open the floor for any questions or comments. And I would also welcome any comments from Natural Resources Canada team that is here as well.
Just waiting to check to see if we have any comments, but maybe in the meantime, I can say thank you so much to Muhammad and EHRC for our collaboration on this tool and other ways. Otherwise, we work together in a lot of different ways, and of course to Joanna and all of the hard work that you do in Wire and helping to promote our work. I think you've raised some really important points about how we're better together. I think sometimes people assume that all of these efforts, it's a crowded space, it's disparate, but we're actually a fairly small community, and we're never going to reach our goals if we're not working together. And I find it's not a competitive space at all. It's one that's very collaborative, and I've really appreciated all of your insights and feedback. And I think you've also spoken to something that's really important about using this tool or others, and for anyone on this call, we understand that it can sometimes be quite daunting to take on an effort like this. But all we're saying is jump in, complete what you can, use the tool as you can. And I think the attitude that these are some difficult questions, or these are areas where there are gaps, that we need not be afraid of those, if we can call them shortcomings. It's not always shortcomings, but sometimes it is. This is really about learning and finding ways to take tangible actions. And we really wanted to design a tool that was comprehensive, and gave opportunities for many different areas, and we don't expect every single area to be completed, of course, all of us. And Joanna's admitting it at the forefront that we all have work to do, and that's the same in our own organization. And some of us are in the public sector, the private sector, the nonprofit sector, and each have kind of different challenges and opportunities. So really encourage folks to dive in, because the time is now, and we really are. It is really a race against time. So yeah, just wanted to make those comments, and really appreciate everyone's participation. Please, get in touch, share and promote the tool and the campaign and the work of others here. We really want to hear from you if you haven't had a chance to really look at this thoroughly, but you go back to your organization, you do. We really would love to hear feedback, and we're not afraid of anything that is negative. We really want to, and we had a couple of good suggestions, for example, that youth and that focus, and that is maybe something a bit of a shortcoming there. So we're happy to make those changes as we go. But perhaps with that, I'll just end off there. We're also hoping to take a screenshot, of photo at the end. As it is nodding her head, she had volunteered to do that. So if people who are on the camera are comfortable with that, or you want to just turn your camera on, we'd really appreciate that, so that we can promote this webinar in the future. Thanks, everyone. We'll just give you a few moments.
Thank you, Annette. Okay, then counting to 5 backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, capture. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks so much.
everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. We will be sharing the recording with all of you in follow-up, and would really appreciate if you can take some time out to fill the feedback questionnaire that will be emailed to you shortly. Have a great day, good night, good morning, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Really great to
Bye.
see you all.